Hello and good evening. Hopefully, I'll have more success tonight here with you than I did last night. Um, the lighting is equally awful as usual, but that's just the way of the world. I do look like Donald Trump, don't I? I don't know if anyone's there. I don't know if anyone's paying attention. But last night I did attempt to go live, and unfortunately, going live. Was stopped. It was like Philip Schofield arriving, wasn't it? Going live. That was the name of his program. Um, we had a power cut here, and the entire community had no power for most of the night. So, literally, the internet collapsed. So, as I was starting this program, and I'd set it all up, and everything was planned and organized, but it blew up. So, that was the end of that. So, yes, there was nothing other than drudging through the remains of what was left in the fridge to before the fridge, thawed out. So it's been interesting 24 hours. One of my friends here believes it's something to do with those naughty Palestinian protesters who have been targeting electricity substations all around the place. There have been other incidents in this area, so could be that, or it could just be a freak accident. You never know. A fact is not a fact until you've checked as a fact, so we don't know. But anyway, I'm sorry to arrive here late this evening. We were expecting visitors, but they went out on their boat, and I think they probably got a little over refreshed on their boat, so they'll probably not come back. But if they turn up, they can always join in, can't they? You never know. Here we are. Anyway, it's very nice to be here, and I'm very, very sorry I couldn't be with you yesterday. It was impossible because once the power went, and that was the end of the power. There was no more power not for many, many hours, and there were many very angry people here. And meanwhile, two men jumped into the sea, went to the water outside here, and Herman the German got very angry. She wasn't very happy about this. She threatened them. Anyway, so that was an interesting episode. But there we go. But today has been a more peaceful day, and we have got power, but we were expecting visitors early evening, but they didn't turn up. So, and I don't know where the hell they've gone now, but anyway, they've obviously gone off on their boat. So there we are. Anyway, good evening to you all. And yes, I hope you're having a glorious weekend and I hope you're enjoying yourselves. I've got all my birds here. We've been doing gardening and yes, it's still sunny in Saint-Tropez. The moon is not quite at 3/4, but it's what's it, 2/3, I'd say. The moon is at 2/3 here. It's looking all right. And the birds are not making too much of a racket. So anyway, whilst we wait for a few more of you to arrive, if any of you are arriving, because I realise I'm probably a little late for most of you. There we are. Anyway, good evening to Marie Page in Liverpool. Liverpool, I haven't been there since I went to the Albert Docks when Richard and Judy used to have their TV studio there, and there was that awful man, Fred Talbot, who used to jump around on his weather map, who turned out to be a nasty scoutmaster who went around abusing little boys on his canal barge. What a creep he was. Horrible, horrible man. Never met him, but I did see him leaping around on the weatherboard or whatever you want to call it. God knows what happened to that weatherboard. It really will go down in history as something not worth keeping. I'm sure they probably burnt it. But anyway, he was a nasty piece of work, yes. But there's lots of lovely people from Liverpool, lots of big achievers from Liverpool. Liverpool is a city that's produced great success. The liver birds, obviously, in those buildings, the Duke of Westminster has regenerated Liverpool, from what I gather, the old Duke of Westminster, because he owns a lot of it. And well, Silla Black, I wouldn't put her down as a great person myself, but you haven't spent time with her probably like I did. My God, I'd rather not have done. Um, right. Hello to Nicola Mooney and Lee Kicker. Yes, Mr. Lee Kicker and Paulie Galtieri, sorry, and Dixie and Expialidocious and all the rest of you. Lovely to have you all here, and there's a fair few of you arriving, so it's obvious. But no, last night it was impossible. The power went, so the internet went. And given my telephone device doesn't connect with this temporary computer, because I don't know how to do such things, there was no way of going around that. But the telephone device died very quickly also because it didn't have any power. So, that's how it works. When the power cut happens, the power goes. And I've never seen so many people wandering around going, "Where's my power? Where's my power?" We lit a candle, rather large candle that my nice friend brought, but that kept us going until I went to bed. But obviously, I couldn't even read a book. Well, I could have taken the candle upstairs, I suppose, but it was ridiculous. But people without power, they go bonkers. They were all wandering around, looking very confused and dazed and confused. That was the name of a magazine. But anyway, there we are. So yes, please talk about Silla. Silla Black was very, very unpleasant. I never liked the woman. I spent an evening at a dinner party with her, and all she talks about was how she'd bought a Bentley and had her name sewn into the headrests. And she went on about this for hours and hours. And I was just sort of like, can't you talk about something else, please? You're really, really boring. Didn't like her one bit. Very vain, very obnoxious. Great friend of Cliff Richard. Great friend of that Gloria Hunniford. Awful, awful people. The three of them. Ugh, yuck. Don't like them. But she did die a very strange death, did our Silla, didn't she? The door was kind of locked the wrong way round or something at that place where she died, and she'd fallen over after a sort of drunken incident or something at a lunch, and she got heat stroke or something. So there we go. Yes, Silla is full of BS. She said she loved our city, but she looked down on us as if we were rubbish. Yes, she only went back there when she was dead, and then someone vandalized her grave, which I don't condone anyone vandalizing graves, by the way. That's a terrible thing to do. But Silla Black was a snob, and she was awful and not my kind of person. Absolutely not. Absolutely boring as hell. The number of times I met her, she was very friendly with this man, John Majeski, who owned Reading Football Club, who I also find a little odd. So no, I'm not a great fan of our Silla. Yes. Yes, she was banned from British Airways for being so rude and obnoxious to staff. I don't know whether that's true or not, but Dave, you may have a point. But Naomi Campbell was banned from airlines, and Noel and Liam Gallagher were banned from Cathay Pacific, if I recall, from one of my quiz questions. So there you go. There's three sets of people who've been banned from airlines. I've yet to be banned from an airline myself. I haven't done that. Not managed that yet. But Mr. Lee Kicker saw a huge pair of bullocks today. Oh, that's very nice. Was that on Pendle Hill, perhaps? No, I don't think they'd quite get up the top, would they? It's true, says Dave. Okay, well, I'll have to look it up. Was Silla Black banned from British Airways? I don't know. Quite possibly. She certainly had an attitude, and she was very, very rude, I will say. Very, very much the diva. She's like Anthea Turner is another of the same type. Pointless TV presenter with no real talent. And as for the music that she was singing, oh my God. And as for that blind date program, ugh, what a load of vomit. Have I got any news on the Menendez brothers? The The Menendez brothers, well, they've got a few more weeks to wait before anything will happen. So no news on them. But I can talk a bit about Jeremy Bamber in due course. Jeremy Bamber, four. It's taken them 4 years to look at four of the counts of the complaint, and they've dismissed it at the Criminal Cases Review Commission. But they've got another six to look at. So the case is far from over, and the CCRC have got, shame on them. They're totally useless. How does it take you 4 years to look at that and then go, oh no? It should take you a matter of weeks, not 4 years. A year per count? Oh, ridiculous. And the campaign group, I've been speaking with members of the campaign group, and they're not disheartened. They will fight on, and we are supporting them, and I'm supporting them wholeheartedly. The Jeremy Bamber campaign group are very, very decent people, especially Yvonne Hartley and Philip Walker and Emma Morris. They were all doing a superb job supporting a man who should not be in prison because, quite frankly, Heidi Blake has explained it all in her wonderful article in the New Yorker, and 17,000-word article where she interviews one of the detectives who received a phone call. And he is now at the end of his life admitting that he received that phone call. The 609 phone call, it changes everything. In my view, the 609 phone call is the key to everything, but the CCRC is being very difficult. So it just proves again, they kept that poor man Andrew Malkinson in prison and it turned out he was innocent. How many cases did this CCRC actually review? Because, that woman that was running it, too busy going on holiday. Oh, she went off and had little meetings at, America and wherever she could go, where she could get a nice freebie and stay in a nice hotel. Well, what did she do for the people who are sitting in prison who are innocent, like Omar Benguet, like Jeremy Bamber, like all sorts of others? Mark Alexander, there's so many of them. And their cases are not correct. These people are not certain of being in prison. Okay, they may be guilty, and of course, there's always a 1% chance. But with Jeremy Bamber, I went from believing 40% that he was innocent to 99%. So I'm very much firmly in the Jeremy Bamber camp on this particular one, and I think it's a disgrace that the Criminal Cases Review Commission have failed in 4 years to even deal with the other six matters. So, out of 10, they've dealt with 4 in 4 years. That's pathetic. What's your work record? What do you actually do, you useless organisation? You should be ashamed of yourselves. Now, I'm not saying it's the workers' fault, but the chief of it, the head honcho has gone, and the other head honcho has gone. But frankly, but what are we going to get with Keir Starmer? He was useless at the CPS, wasn't he? Absolutely great man, wasn't he? Brilliant at his job, old Keir Starmer, the farmer harmer. Absolutely shocking. So, no, don't approve of the situation. Absolutely appalling. I don't know if Lady Min is awake in the background. Are you awake? No, I think she's gone to. Yes, we are supporting Jeremy Bamber, aren't we? Yes, she says yes. That's about all we get from her, but she's saying yes. So we will be supporting Jeremy Bamber. Right. The chief of the thing should be investigated. I totally agree. Why are you going on about people being banned? I'm not banning anybody. I'm not doing that. Michael Barrymore is still working. Yes, well, here's another disgrace. Another case that was bungled by Essex Police. Essex Police, one of the worst. The worst of all, police force. Jeremy Bamber, the doctor case. I forgot the name of the doctor, but the Doctor Jones, the murder in the Jaguar XJS in the local village and all that. Yes, I do have opinions, and I will share them. Yes, no problem with that. If you don't like my opinions, you have the right to leave. But I don't mind if you have alternative opinions. Alternative opinions don't really matter, but I just don't like ridiculous opinions. That's all I shall say. Ridiculous opinions are as much use as a chocolate bus ticket, so don't have ridiculous opinions. Um, I'm shining the light away because the lighting is not working correctly, but it's now a bit better. I don't look as bad now, do I? I don't quite like Donald Trump, but anyway, here I am in the garden, and the guest visitors never arrived, but that doesn't matter. That's not the end of the world. We still had a nice dinner of a lovely um, lemon tagliatelle with ricotta and courgettes. So that was a simple dish that I found in one of the newspapers I was reading. So I thought we'd try it out, and it was, I'm not normally I normally have to have a bit of meat or fish, but no, it worked perfectly for a hot summer's evening. So very pleasant. Um, you think Luke Mitchell is the worst in history, being him during a child when it happened? John Miller, yes, I do have a lot of dealings with the Luke Mitchell campaign. I can't claim to be an expert on the Luke Mitchell case, but the Luke Mitchell case is something that should be investigated. Scottish law is obviously very different to English law, so the procedures are very different. And then the Criminal Case Review Commission operates in England, not Scotland, so it's a different thing. Right. Would I like to slag off someone else famous? Well, I can't stand Michelle Mone, as you know. Michelle Mone is a nasty piece of toe rag. So, Baroness Bra of Belgravia, or well, she's Baron. I think she's Baroness Bra of Mayfair. I don't know. Karen Brady might be of Belgravia. I don't know which way round the two of them are, but the two of them, Baroness Dildo Flogger, associate Brady and Mone. They are like the witches grim. Those two absolutely appalling pair. And of course, they had a big row. Well, Moan had a big row with Carol Vorderman. Now, Carol Vorderman, I'm kind of 50-50 on Carol Vorderman. Never met her, but she just seemed to be a bit mouthy. Um, I agree with her about Brexit, but she's gone a bit overboard, I will say. I think time to reel it in. Enough is enough with her. So, the McCanns have gone all quiet again, yes, because now they've had a little bit more funding. So the investigation will rumble along, and until they need more money, they will be quiet with the old McCanns. So, yes. Watch and Report was listening to Dido earlier. I haven't listened to Dido in a very long time. Good old Dido, but that's not dildo. No, Dido is a different thing. There you go. So, right. Okay. Any questions on any specific topics? Obviously, we've spoken a little bit about Jeremy Bamber, but I would just like to say that, the Jeremy Bamber campaign team are going to carry on fighting, and they're not giving up, and they won't be giving up, and quite rightly so. Poor Jeremy Bamber. It's a terrible state of affairs that this just rumbles on and on and on, and the incompetence of a stupid organization that clearly messed up in the case of Andrew Malkinson and others. The other gentleman whose name escapes me, but absolutely appalling. And, what about Omar Benguit? What about Mark Alexander? What about all the others? So it's absolutely shocking. terrible situation. And when you've got campaigners like Terry Waite, who held hostage in the Lebanon, supporting Mark Alexander. We've got lots of good people supporting. Peter Tatchell supports, Jeremy Bamber. He's been through a lot. I don't agree with him about everything. He's a little bit, he's another bit mouthy sort, but um, he's gets himself involved in a bit, like he's a bit of a Greta Thunberg male version, but older version. Um, it's just ridiculous. Anyway, I'm glad Grim Greta's been silenced. Can't stand her. Never met her, but I don't want to meet her. I'd rather meet wasps, snails, and paving stones than have her in my orbit. So anyway, is it true you were once friends with Michael Barrymore? No. I was once in a restaurant where Michael Barrymore it was a restaurant launch in Old Church Street, Chelsea, and Michael Barrymore was at an adjoining table, but and he was very loud and he was horrible. I thought, I don't like the look of you, but no, I've never ever met him on any other occasion. But I didn't even meet him on that occasion. He was just in the same room. That's all. Don't know him. So why would you suggest I was a good friend of his? Because I'm certainly not. Absolutely untrue. Um, John Gosden. Well, he was a lovely man. John Gosden, fantastic racehorse man. What's my view on Farage? It's Farage as in garage. It's not Farage, for a start. His father ran, or his uncle ran a garage in Broadstairs, and it was known as Farage's Garage, not Farage's Garage. Do I believe Michael Barrymore hit the door handle and pool thermometer? I think more likely the possibility was it disappeared when the agent arrived. I can't remember the name of the agent because Michael Barrymore had already left the premises by then. So how would the police know about it if it hadn't been mentioned? But then it sort of disappeared. They both disappeared. So there is something strange about that. But the women who were at the property, and I won't call them ladies because they certainly weren't ladies, because they also, have helped cover up a poor Stuart Lubbock, the father of two children's murder and rape at the home of the bungalow of Michael Barrymore. They said they saw people going through drawers and taking things, which was obviously probably the illegal substances that were in the property, because there was definitely a lot of illegal substances in that property at that particular evening. March the whatever 2001. It was a terrible evening, and there was screams from the pool at around 5 a.m., but nobody called the police for at least an hour. So what was going on in that house? 9 people went to a party and 8 of them lived. So what really happened? Those 8 people that lived, shame on the lot of you, because you didn't even tell the truth. And some of you got paid money for your rotten, horrible stories, you piece of rubbishes. You're absolute load of rubbish, the lot of you. Absolutely disgusting. Mr. Lee Kicker is feeling very romantic today. Well, it's not Valentine's Day yet, sir. You kind of got to wait a bit till next year for that. So anyway, there we go. Miss Perfect says he's not that skint. He gets his teeth done in Harley Street. Well, he was living in Spain, but he doesn't seem to have worked out. Has the person tried to contact me? I don't want to talk about him anymore. We're not going to go there, but no. Yes. Right. Okay. He went to live in Oz. No, he didn't. He went to live in New Zealand, the Blue Nomad. But you're not far away. But he was in New Zealand, as far as I'm aware. And hello to Mr. Who's the Snitch? Hello. Yes. Don't know who you are, but we've got messages coming in from all sorts of people. I don't know who half of them are, but new people. So anyway, thank you to all of you new people for joining our channel. Thank you for subscribing and participating. It's fantastic to say that. Please say hello to Pig Pig. Pig Pig, hello. Pig Pig, yes. Hello and good evening to Pig Pig. Okay. It rains a lot in New Zealand, says the Blue Nomad. Well, Michael Barrymore could use that rain to fill his swimming pool if he was still living there, but he doesn't have a swimming pool there, does he? Because he doesn't live there, and he can't swim anyway. That was another of his lies. Total liar, total, Cheryl Barrymore contradicted him. And, why would you build a swimming pool in your garden if you can't swim? Miss Perfect points out that his boyfriend at the party was a northern drag queen. That is totally correct. Then he became a lorry driver or a taxi driver or something or other of that type. He has a history of violence and has been, arrested in the past for that. So out of the 8 suspects, if there were indeed 8, because I do have a suspicion there could have been others. And, when I did the program with Sue Homan, who was married to Stuart Lubbock, I did raise this, but, she didn't know, and nor do I know. But how do we know that there were 8 people in that house? There could have been more. We don't know. In the L-shaped bungalow, this was what could have gone on. So there we are. Right. Okay. Right. Anyway. Okay. Have we any questions on any other topics, or shall we do a quiz? We'll do a quiz because it's getting quite dark here. So now I'm looking a bit more like Donald Trump. You turn the light even further. Oh. Right. Okay. Well, if you'd like to do a quiz, we could do a quiz. So if you're ready for a quiz, happy to do a quiz. Yesterday, I had a whole list of topics planned to talk about, but obviously they're kind of a bit redundant. There was going to be a bit of Lucy Letby and a bit of other things, but I don't really think I need to go on about those things tonight. So we'll move along and we'll go on to quiz number 105. Is the quiz. It would have been helpful to have had an assistant, but I don't get an assistant anymore, do I? So anyway, I'm going to try and write it all down here. So yes, hello to Hatchy. Yes. Well, I hope you did get a postcard because postcards take a lot. Well, the electricity went off here, and that was another disaster. That was a total disaster. So, the postal system doesn't work. The planes were on strike. They like striking here at this time of year. So God only knows if any post is actually gone, but the postal service is very slow, I believe. Just like the planes, which didn't go, and I believe the planes should be working again today. But the baby seagull was taken away, unfortunately, because it was very badly injured. But we've had another badly injured one today, so the evil cat has been at its work again. But I've been feeding the poor little thing. It has been wandering around in the house, which I don't really want to encourage because of the mess it makes. But I do have some boards to keep it out of going in and out. But it had to get in to get to where it needed to go. But it seems very lonely, this poor little bird, and I'm very sorry for it. And it's yet another one. So the poor birds. You've got to look after animals. If you abuse animals, there's something wrong with you. You don't need to go around hitting animals, and you don't need to be like the nasty cat going for its neck. Horrible, horrible things. And the lady who owns the cat should take the damn cat away. And next time I see her, I'll tell her to take her damn cat away because it's now attacked two birds. Well, and probably three because the bird that went missing, the mini Thatcher, has never come back. So that one's definitely dead. But we saved one, and the other one, well, it's not as badly injured and probably sort itself out. But there we go. So anyway, do you want a quiz? Are you ready for a quiz? Are you quiz ready? It's top of the quiz to you. So right, don't know how I'm going to do this because of the light, but should have brought the candle outside, but Madam wanted the candle inside. So okay, I can do it this way. Okay, right. Now I look kind of like I'm dragged through the hedge and fought it off. But unfortunately, this is the only way I can get the light onto the thing. So the first question is, which Cambridge History of Art graduate has been the host of The Traitors, Strictly, and The Piano? What is the person? Lynn's gets it, but doesn't give the whole thing. So I can't give you the point, Lynn's, because you have to give the full name. So Matt Luke Ken gets the point on this occasion. It is Winkleman, Claudia Winkleman. Matt Luke gets the first point because I do insist upon full names. I think it is correct that we have to have the full name. I have said this before, so apologies, Lynn's, but next time you have to give the full name. Right. Okay. With which sport is Ollie Chesham associated? Ollie Chesham. Jane Hennessy gets the point. Jane Hennessy. Like the cognac. Yes, well done to Jane. Of course, the answer is rugby union. England, Leicester Tigers. He's a lock. Caps for Lions 0, tests 28, and Will Greenwood says of him, he's got a lot of credit in the bank. Okay, the next question. Who invented the computer mouse? Who was the inventor of the computer mouse? It wasn't Bill Gates, and it wasn't J.R. Hartley, and it wasn't Mighty Mouse. It wasn't Mickey Mouse. It wasn't Brian Harvey. No. Leslie S. points out, I can't remember his name. He just died recently. So Leslie S. is a good quizzer because she's not doing Google like some of them. Jesse Lav gets the point. It was Douglas Engelbart. Jesse, where are you? Jesse Lav. Oh. Right. Okay, you can have the point, Jesse Lav. Okay, well done. Right. Who was the author of the 1936 self-help book, How to Win Friends and Influence People? Who was the author? Over 30 million copies were sold. One of the best-selling books of all time. Warren Buffett took the course. Charles Manson used what he learned from it in manipulating others into killing on his behalf. Matt Luke Ken gets a second point. Well done, Matt Luke. It was Dale Carnegie. Yes. It's a very popular book. Leslie S., you're quite correct. Okay, and then the contrasting book. Who was the author of the 2001 memoir, How to Lose Friends and Alienate People? Who was the author of that? Matt Luke Ken, a third point to you. You're storming into the lead. Of course, it was um, 5 years in his failings to make it Toby Young as a contributing editor of Vanity Fair, his run-ins with Mel Gibson, Diana Ross, his relationship at work with Julie Burchill, Graydon Carter, Tina Brown, and it became a play and it became a film. So there you go. Well, how to um, lose friends and alienate people, and how to win friends and influence people. Two contrasting books, and I think we know which was the more successful of the two. Okay, so in which year did the Beatles release Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane? Which year in February that year did they do that? It wasn't 1969, it wasn't 1968, it wasn't 1964, but Matt Luke Ken gets a fourth point. Oh dear, we're getting Matt Luke Ken well into the lead now. 4 points straight in. Well done to Matt Luke Ken. Starring Tommy Lee Jones and Ashley Jones in the thriller Double Jeopardy. Who starred as them in which film did they star in Double Jeopardy? Which year? A woman seeking revenge for making faking his death and framing her for murder. Miss Perfect gets the point. Well done to Miss Perfect. Miss Perfect, new entrant. Miss Perfect. Well done to Miss Perfect. It was 1999. So good answer from Miss Perfect. What does the acronym often used on medical notes HAC mean? What does HAC mean? HAC. It's not have a cuppa. It's not has a cold. It's not has a crack. It's not heal and chat. It's not had a child. It's not have a cake. It's not hot and cold. Sorry, there's an insect attacking me. It's not have a cookie. It's not half a cow. It's not health and care. It's not howling at chat. It's not history and condition. Hack. What does hack mean? Hospital acquired condition. No, Fiona Wright, you're wrong. It's not have a chat. It's not hot and cold. You've already had that one, so that's failed. Oh dear, you're not very good at this one. It's not how's our Silla. No. It's not hospital acquired condition. No. Okay, well, I think no nil point, as they say. It means haven't a clue. So when a doctor doesn't know what's going on, they write HAC, haven't a clue. Okay, in which century do the French claim a monk named Dom Perignon was the first to produce champagne? Which century? I'm giving you a wide avenue, given that the man clearly may have not been. But Anne of Cleves gets the point. Well done to Anne of Cleves. Anne of Cleves. No, I can't even see my own notes. I don't know whether you can hear me, but Anne of Cleves. All right. 1 point to you. It was the 17th century. So point to Anne of Cleves. And now I've got to try and read this question without. So I could do with more lights. I think I don't know how I'm going to do this in the future, but the problem is bringing lights outside is very difficult. Right. Okay. Stop. No, we've done that one. What does the acronym? I don't know. We've done that. In which century? Oh no, we've done that. With which sport is Spaniard Paula Badoza associated? Paula Badoza. It's not football. It's not horse racing. It's not water sports. Chile Karine gets the point. Well done, Chile. It is, of course, tennis. Chile Karine. So well done to Chile Karine, a regular on the show for many, many years. And right, okay, let's move along. Approximately how many British playing fields were sold off primarily for developments in the 1980s and 1990s? Um, it wasn't 15,000, but it's not 20,000, and it's not 4,500. It's not hundreds. It's not 20 million. It wasn't 2,400. It wasn't all of them. Lynn's is the closest. We'll give Lynn's the point because Lynn's missed out on a point. She says 9,000. It was approximately 10,000. So Lynn's was the closest to get there first. So I'll accept that. Who was Society Party planner Lady Elizabeth Anson, the first cousin of? Lady Elizabeth Anson, a very nice lady who I met on a number of occasions. Very charming lady. Very nice. She died in 2020. Um, Sandy D. You can no Jane Hennessy. Sorry, you get there first. Jane Hennessy. Jane Hennessy. A second point for you. It was the Queen Elizabeth, of course. Um, she said that Meghan could turn into nothing but trouble. Harry has blown his relationship with his grandmother. She was known as Liza to her friends, and she was a very nice lady. Okay, another royal question. Which monarch was the first to install a bath on a train? Which monarch installed a full-size bathtub on a train? It wasn't Victoria. No, it wasn't Prince Edward, but it was Edward the. No, it wasn't Edward. Sarah Havison gets the point. George the Fifth. George the Fifth. Sarah Havison gets the point. He used it so frequently, the train, that it became his temporary home. He loved the train so much. But sadly, the train is going to be no more as of 2027. There won't be any more Royal Train. But they prefer to fly around in helicopters so they can be home in time for tea. So there we go. In which year did Her Majesty's ship Coronation, or His Majesty's ship Coronation, sink in the Channel at Penley Point during a gale, resulting in 600 deaths? Which year? It's one of 57 protected wrecks in the UK. It's damaged in 2025 by lobster fishermen. Which year did it sink? It wasn't 1872. It wasn't 1934. It wasn't 1834. The Penley, sorry, the HMS Coronation. No. None of you are vaguely close. The Coronation. Which year did it sink at Penley Point during a gale? No, 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 no. Oh. One of Cleaver's is close, but not correct. So we'll give somebody else a chance. If you're not quick, we'll give it to Anne of Cleaver's. But no. Okay, Anne of Cleaver's, you can have the point. It was 1691. You said 1690. So allow your point on this one occasion, even though you're a year out. Um, it may not have sank if it had been a year earlier. Right. Okay. What does the acronym SPCA stand for? The acronym SPCA. Lynn's is close, but not correct. Leslie S gets the point, however. Leslie S. Of course, it is the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to animals. So it wasn't protection, but prevention of cruelty. So, in which month is the Woke Wazikri, that is the International Non-Binary People's Day, held? Which month is it held? The International Non-Binary. Right, the first person to get it correct is Watched and Report. Watch and Report, and a point for you. It is July. Yes, it's the start of the Pride Week in London today, I believe. There we go. But this was on the 14th of July. It starts the non-binary also Awareness Week, which was on the 14th. It starts on that. Okay, which Californian bridge opened in 1937 is the world's #1 suicide spot? Which bridge? With over 2,000 deaths as of 2024. Jane Hennessy gets another point, so Jane Hennessy goes into second. It's, of course, the Golden Gate Bridge. 2,000 deaths as of 2024. As of 2018, there were only 1,500 deaths on it. So the number of deaths on it are increasing quite rapidly. So why don't they do something, cover up the sides of it or something? It's crazy. I was reading the book about strangers by Malcolm Gladwell, and there was a whole thing about this. But it would be best if they did something to cover up the sides of it so people can't jump off it. It would be a good idea. I don't know why they're so stupid, these people in California. Can they not have any brain cell power to actually have the good sense to fix the problem? Okay, right. Next question. So we're coming towards the end. In which year did the poet Sylvia Plath commit suicide by sticking her head in the oven and turning on the gas? She did so in the former home of W.B. Yeats. Her husband, Ted Hughes, had abandoned her for another woman. It was in Primrose Hill, and they say poets die young. And I can't read the rest of my own writing because it's a bit too. Anyway, which year did she do this? It wasn't 1927. I'm going to have to go backwards a bit because I may have missed somebody. Right. The first person to get it correct. No. No one has got it correct yet. No. No correct answer yet, but you are close, a number of you. Try again. I'll accept a second try. No. Okay, Wits End, you can have it. A point to you. Wits End. It was 1962, not 1963. Okay, in which year was Meredith Kercher murdered in Perugia, Italy? Amanda Knox, obviously involved in the story, Rudy Guede and Raphael Solicito. Which year was the car? SS Racing is the first to get it correct. It was 2007. SS Racing, well done. Of course, it was the 1st of November 2007. And what a horrible story. And, no justice really for that poor girl that was murdered. And Amanda Knox has sort of gone through all sorts of dramas. She's like a sort of equivalent of that woman that was involved with Clinton, under the desk. In terms of reinvention. So there we are. Anyway, finally, another crime question. What is the name of the Midtown Manhattan office building Bernie Madoff operated his Ponzi scheme from? What was the name of the building? He was obsessed with the grey decor. Everything had to be grey. He was secret floor, but in one part of the building. It wasn't the Flatiron Building. It wasn't the Trump Tower. No, it wasn't that. He was a detail junkie, and of course, he had a suite at the Lanesborough, equally obsessed. It wasn't the Waldorf. Of course, I knew the Viennas, who were big victims and original feeder funds of him. So, yeah. So I never met him knowingly. I don't know if I was possibly in the same room as him at a party at the Ritz once, but I was never introduced because was of no relevance because I'm far too poor. So there we go. So no, what's the name of the building? It wasn't the Twin Towers. It wasn't the Chrysler. It wasn't the Peckham Embassy. It wasn't Domino's Pizza. It wasn't the Astoria. It wasn't the Stock Exchange. It wasn't the Historia. No, it wasn't the Waldorf. No, it wasn't the Woolworth. The building, it was shaped like a certain thing. It wasn't Hotel California. It wasn't the Book Locker. And Anne of Cleves gets the point. It was the Lipstick Building. So, right, in our quiz tonight, we have a winner. We have a clear winner with 2 second places. Matt Luke wins the quiz. Well done to Matt Luke. You've got 4 points. And coming second is Jane Hennessy with 3 points and Anne of Cleves. We've also had points for Jessie Lav, Miss Perfect, Chili Kareen, Linz, Sarah Havison, Leslie, Watch and Report, Wits End, and SS Racing. So very well done to Matt Luke, the winner of our quiz. I'll put a big tick through it so I don't go and make a fool of myself and try and give you the same quiz again. So anyway, there we go. Anyway, I've written a few more in the absence of time. Yes, have you any questions on anything else? Yes, I will be returning. Yes, don't know when quite, but in a few days, so not far away. And I will like to host a dinner in England at PJ's. I'll speak with the management there and see what they have to say. It might be nice to plan a little dinner so you can all come and say hello to me. Now, you can meet the Donald Trump of the south of France, who will return to England when do a little dinner. So that might be a nice thing to do. What's the first thing I'll do back in the UK? I'll go to PJ's bar and have a lovely time at PJ's bar. So, yeah. Have you got any more questions on any more topics? Otherwise, we'll say thank you very much and good night. Otherwise, if there's no more questions, there we are. You'd like another quiz? Well, not tonight. No, no, no. Tonight I need to go back inside. I'm. I think it's time to probably save the quiz for tomorrow. So you'll get a new quiz tomorrow, and maybe you might even get um, two quizzes because I've nearly written three. But no, tonight I think it's time to go to bed. It's quite late, and it's time to go to bed. Um, it's very hot here, and it would be better to go to bed. Um, right. Okay. Well. Anyway, thank you very much for your lovely participation. We've had 55 minutes of chitter chatter, conversation, and a quiz. And, you know, it would be best that we say top of the evening to you all. Have a wonderful Sunday. I hope you're going to listen to The Archers tomorrow. I've already listened to it myself, but the new character is very, very irritating. Can't stand her. This Amber girl. I did know a girl once called Ambar who was very aggressive on the pavement scooter, and well, we had her arrested. Horrible, horrible little rat she was. And Jane Morris of Percy Bass and I were not very happy with her awful behaviour on the pavement, attacking people. Not correct. These pavement scooters should be banned. But no, the Amber in the Archers is not a nice character, and I really don't think we need any more nasty characters in the Archers. Um, they've got enough with that dreadful wife of that Tom. Oh my God, she's bad enough. So we don't need any more. So please, the producers of the Archers, get some sense. Get rid of that bloody girl quickly, and don't marrying the prisoner. Oh, for goodness sakes! It's not a very good storyline, actually. I think the story is very weak, and I don't like the story, so I'm not a fan. So, from time to time, I love Lillian Bellamy stories. She loves gin, she loves running the pub. She's fun, but we don't need this Amber or Amber or whatever she's called. So, please get rid of that story. It's a very weak story. I don't like the story. Don't support it. So, come on, get rid of it. But you won't, because I know you won't, because we've got to play the woke card, haven't we? We've got to have an influencer in Ambridge. Um, Come on, go back to telling stories about farming, because that's what you should be doing. Jeremy Clarkson's telling stories about farming, and he's doing brilliantly. So, man up, grow up, and show up. Do what you're told to do. It's best that you do that. So, enough is enough. Anyway, I wish you all a very happy evening. I don't know why I went down a rant about Amber, but I really am bored of her already. There we go. So anyway, I'm going to go and have a nice sleep. I'm going to just put you know who to bed because she's now got a clean bed. Um, and tomorrow we'll get some more fans because we've been buying fans today. We need more. It's too hot here. So anyway, take care and have a lovely evening, and pip pip to you all. Have a lovely night. Take care, and my regards to you all. Best wishes and top of the evening. Thank you.